Today we're going to be making a Valentine infinity scarf using a shell stitch. The scarf is going to measure about 54 to 56 inches. I am using the Burnett satin yarn, 3.5 ounce skeins. This took almost 2 skeins to complete. I'm using the crochet hook size H. To begin with, we're going to chain 35 stitches. And in the 5th chain from the hook, we're going to do 1 double crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5th chain from the hook, 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 more double crochets in that same stitch, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and that's your first shell stitch. So each one of our shell stitches will be made up of 3 double crochets, a chain 2, and 3 double crochets. Okay, skip the next 4 chains, and in the 5th chain from the hook, another shell stitch. So 1 double crochet, 2, 3, chain 2, 3 more double crochets, 1, 2, 3, skip the next 4 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, in the 5th chain another shell stitch, so that's 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, so we're going to keep going this way to the end of the row, and that will be approximately 6 shell stitches. So continue on, skip 4 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, and in the 5th chain another shell stitch, 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, skip the next 4 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, and in the 5th chain another shell stitch, 1 double crochet, 2, 3, chain 2, 3 double crochets, 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're almost at the end of our row here. Count off 4 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4. In the 5th chain another shell stitch. Okay, so here's our 6 shell stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, in the last chain, 1 double crochet. Okay, chain 3. Now, all the preceding rows will be based on the second row that we're going to do now. So you start with a chain 3, a shell stitch in that chain 2 space of each shell. So let's do 1 shell stitch, which is 3 double crochets, 2, 3, chain 2, 3 doubles, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so this is your first shell stitch. This is the next shell stitch on your second row. So let's go ahead and continue to the end with the shell stitches. Again, in the chain 2 space of your shell stitch on the previous row is where we're placing our next row of shell stitches. 3 doubles, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. So here we are on our last shell stitch of the second row. So 3 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, chain 2, 3 double crochets, okay. Now in that chain space of your first row, see your first 3 double crochets down here? There's your chain, your turning chain space. We're going to do 1 double crochet in there, and then we're going to chain 3 and turn. So all your preceding rows will be made the same as the second row we just did, which is chain 3, 6 shell stitches, a double crochet in that last chain space, 3 chains, and then starting your next row. So I will check in with you halfway through the video. Have fun crocheting. So here we are checking in. I've crocheted about 36 inches of this, and we'll just repeat one more row just to make sure you have the stitch. I'm sure you have it by now. We're going to do a shell stitch in this first shell. I started with 3 double crochets to represent my first post. So 3 doubles in this first shell. 1, 2, 3, chain 2, 3 more doubles. 1, 2, 3. There's our double. So let me go ahead and finish these shells all the way across. 1 double, 2, 3, chain 2, 3 double crochets, 1, 2, 3. There's our second shell stitch. Our next shell, 3 doubles again, 1, 2, 3, chain 2, 3 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, another shell stitch done, 1 more shell, 1, 2, 3, chain 2, 3 more doubles, 1, 2, 3. Okay, now our last shell stitch. 1, 2, 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 more double crochets, 1, 2, 3, and 1 double crochet in this chain 3 space, chain 3, and turn, and there's our shell stitch. So again, I am going to continue this until the piece measures approximately maybe 48 to 52 inches, and I will see you at the end of the scarf. Okay, here we are at the end of our scarf. We're on the last shell stitch. We've crocheted about 80 rows of the shell stitch. The scarf is measuring about 54 inches right now. So let's go ahead and do that last shell stitch. So 3 double crochets. Chain 2 and 3 more doubles. Okay, now you can connect your ends any way you'd like. I'm going to just do a simple chain stitch and stitch both of the ends together. I'm going to line up my shell stitches here, if you can see here, and do a couple of single crochets in each one to join them. Okay, so just in this first post we're going to do 1 single. Now in the top of this shell and the bottom of this shell I'm going to do 2 single crochets. Now in this chain here between the shells and the same one here, I'm going to join it with 2 single crochets. And again in the next shell, the top of the shell and the bottom of the shell, 2 single crochets. And I'm going to continue this way all the way down until I have this joined, and then we'll see what it looks like. Okay, 2 single crochets. And the reason I'm doing 2 single crochets is I want to give it some length here to stretch when we put it on. Otherwise I'd probably do a single crochet in each stitch. Okay, so we've reached the end, and in that last post I'm going to do 1. Okay, let's go ahead and trim that. Okay, and this is what it looks like finished, where you joined it. And again, when you're stretching it, you're not going to see that. Okay, we'll weave in the end, and there you have your infinity scarf. So it's long enough to wrap twice or 3 times around. And there is your Valentine infinity scarf.